calls. The midnight hour is upon us. It's time once again for two internet strangers to discuss the good and evil of the horror genre. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the terror within the Hallow-Holics Anonymous podcast.
Cause we got a great big convoy, ain't she a beautiful sight? Come on, join our convoy, da-da-da-da-da-da.
Okay, you win. You really can sing that song for 3 hours straight. I'm gonna play around with the CB. You cool with that?
You're interrupting my one-man convoy extravaganza, but go for it.
Alright, cool. Breaker, breaker, we got a fox in the hen house. Repeat, we've got a fox in the hen house.
Let me talk to Corey.
Who's this? Copy speaking to... What should I call myself?
I don't know.
No, I was asking Corey here.
I have no idea. Why don't you, Candy Cane?
Candy... Oh, that's a little, predictable. I mean, we just watched that movie.
Well, yeah, but that's why you use it.
This is Mandy Potemkin. How's it going there?
It's going fine, but I don't really think you're the one I want to talk to.
Just don't let him on. You know who that is.
What's your name, Breaker Breaker?
My name's... You can call me Face Cutter.
Well, he sounds like a nice guy. Come on, let's play around, we got a long drive ahead of us.
He's not a nice guy. This is definitely the same dude who was calling me during the Stalker episode.
What?
That wasn't me. That was definitely some other guy.
No, it was you, dude. It was you. Come on.
I have a good feeling about him. Let's just let him talk for a bit. What do you want, Face Cutter? Mr. Face Cutter?
Well, I'd like it if you could pull in down to that old abandoned motel back about 10 miles and just kick Corey out and drive away.
How did you know we were just past an abandoned hotel 10 miles ago?
He's obviously following us, and I would really rather not you do this. Can we just I'm sorry about the convoy song. I'm sorry about everything. I'm sorry I've been reading off license plates for the last 8 hours.
Corey, I've got a good feeling about this guy. Let's just turn around, and in the meantime, while we get ready to find out who this Face Cutter guy is, he's probably a friend of yours. You never know. Let's start the podcast.
I'm sure he's not a friend of ours.
I'm definitely a friend of yours.
Yeah, let's just start the podcast and get away from this dude. So, I'm Corey.
I'm Maddie.
And we are the Hallow-Holics Anonymous. A show about all things horror and sometimes Halloween.
But very rarely, as of late.
Yeah, very rarely horror.
No, I was going to say Halloween.
Well, that too.
Oh man, it feels like it's been ages since we recorded.
I think you say that every time we record, and I don't think it's been like a week and a half, right?
Yeah, but all of our episodes are out of order, and we're announcing news things on our episodes.
Oh, that's true. It's all old news. Everything's goofy. It's summer. We're busy. Yeah. The listeners will listen and forgive us because they like us. I hope.
Of course. There's nothing judgmental whatsoever about the horror nerd community.
No. Nothing at all.
All right. So this episode, it's hard to sort of describe. I don't want to say it's car or truck horror, because that would imply the car or the truck is evil. But I'd like to kind of say that it's car-adjacent horror, because it's not quite road horror either. Let's make that clear.
Well, mine's no. The Hitcher I would consider road horror, but...
We didn't want to talk about the Hitcher, so it's...
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But oddly enough, I get to manage to bring up the Hitcher. You'll find out why soon.
Yeah. But since cars are so destructive in this film, I think it's safe to say that it is car-adjacent horror.
Yeah, for sure.
A very obscure subgenre.
For sure. I mean, it's still doing that thing where it's tapping into the whole alone on a road in the middle of nowhere where anything can happen to you and the cops may never find you kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And it's sort of adjacent, too, with stalker horror. Like, again, as you mentioned, The Hitcher especially. And on some levels, again, because the cars are so destructive in this film, even though they're controlled by human beings, I'd even say it's kind of related to Christine and Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And movies like The Duel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, The Duel is so good.
Yeah.
So that's what
yours is basically a remake of The Duel.
You shut your dirty mouth.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's different enough for it to be good on its own, but...
Yeah, even though the director J.J. Abrams and co-writer did admit that there were some elements of The Duel in this film, I'm not going to own up to it.
Well, I mean, that's good, I guess. I mean, if they're okay with it, you can be okay with it too.
Okay, so before we move on to the movies, we should probably do a little bit of horror news, as
yes,
outdated as it might be when this episode comes out. Horror
news. So, who wants to go first? I'll go first.
Okay, you go ahead, because I just realized I only posted one news thing for the week.
Okay, I have two. So, assuming this episode actually gets released in August, Dead by Daylight, the isometric horror video game, is free on PSN this month for Plus subscribers. I play it sometimes. I definitely think it's a really good game. I imagine it's just the base game that is being sold, so you'll have to purchase Michael Myers and Freddy, maybe Leatherface, and there's a couple other ones. The girl from Saw, you can play her. There's a creepy clown now too, but
always a creepy clown.
Always a creepy clown. But it's definitely worth checking out, especially since it's free, so I definitely recommend it. And if any of you tweet at me, I will play you. I also have it on PC, so if you'd like to play it on PC, even though it's not free, let me know.
You're going to just have a line of random people trying to challenge you now.
Yeah, they'll probably kick my ass. I'm terrible at that game.
For those of you who actually have been following the whole Joe Bob Briggs extravaganza and got to tune in for the special on Shudder, or tried to tune in, or ended up finding a Twitch stream connected to it,
or didn't tune in at all because Shudder screwed you over and you're still a little bit mad at them.
Yeah, or you were at summer camp and you couldn't watch it. Let me tell you, Shudder,
that too.
Yeah, I was actually firsthand experience trying to watch it, by the way. Shudder was so overwhelmed by all the people trying to tune in because they couldn't have planned for how popular Joe Bob really was, that on and on and on, the server kept crashing for just about everybody. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners experienced that because Joe Bob Briggs is absolutely wonderful. They actually uploaded...
I'm sorry, but was his part live?
No, it was recorded in style in advance.
Okay, and it was just all released at once as a marathon.
It was all live. Okay. It was sort of all streamed at once as a marathon. Those episodes, by the way, are available on Shudder, saved individually. Each movie with Joe Bob's inter-sequence commentary are available through the Amazon Shudder service or the basic Shudder service now, so you can watch them at your own leisure. Because he was so popular and he basically crashed the servers all night, he's coming back.
Nice.
That's right, it worked. We are going to have another Joe Bob Briggs marathon, and it might just become a recurring theme.
Hey, what movies did he do in the first one?
Well, one of them was Tourist Trap.
Okay.
That was the main one I got to tune into. He also did Sleepaway Camp.
Oh, dope.
If you don't want to pay for the full service of Shudder on the regular Shudder channel, you can add it to your Amazon Prime for $5 a month, guys. So if you're looking for the Joe Bob Briggs episodes on the regular Shudder or Amazon Shudder, it's called The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. This is the first season. It includes Tourist Trap, Sleepaway Camp, Rabid, The Prowler, Sorority Babes in Slime Bowl-orama, one of Corey's favorites. Yes. Daughters of Darkness, Blood Feast, Basket Case, Reanimator, Demons, Legend of Boggy Creek, Hellraiser, and Pieces.
That's awesome.
It was one of the greatest lineups that I have ever missed, and luckily I can re-experience them, and so can you guys.
I feel like I should retract a statement. Shudder, I don't mean to call you idiots. I'm just mad at you because of this whole billing issue. You guys are probably great.
And, it never hurts to read the fine print. Moving on.
Oh, so now you're blaming me for this?
I'm just saying maybe you were dressed a little provocatively. You can't blame Shudder for how it reacted to your checking account.
That's true. It might have been my fault, Shudder. I'm sorry.
So while I only had one news announcement this week, it was a pretty big one. Moving on, Corey, do you have anything else to say for our horror news sequence?
Yeah, my next piece of news is stupid. Walking Dead, as they always do, did a San Diego Comic-Con panel, and
Walking Dead needed to end.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other thing. Yeah. The producer, Gail Ann Hurd, has given away how the plague started.
Okay.
She says the plague started because of Walter White's blue meth in Breaking Bad. And if you think about it, I believe it's season 2, you actually see Merle's motorcycle has some of the blue meth in his saddlebags. And this has also been confirmed by Robert Kirkland. So meth started the zombie apocalypse, everybody. And I'm sure that neither of these people were joking or taking the piss at all, because they're probably not at all sick of people asking them this.
And everywhere.
So I'm sure this is canon.
And all over the world, fan fiction writers rejoiced.
Yep. Ugh.
That must have been a sarcastic...
Oh, I'm sure it was. I'm sure they were just... Yeah, I'm sure they just said it based on that Easter egg and the fact that they're annoyed that people won't stop asking them that.
Mm-hmm. Next time they'll be like, it was a misconception, actually, when the dragons were released from their eggs by the mother of all dragons.
That brought magic back into the world, which also brought the zombies back. Well, maybe that's what it is. Maybe these are just southern White Walkers.
Yeah, maybe the zombies are a metaphor for the winter, which is apparently upon the horizon and making its way towards us. Coming, if you will.
To find out, the last episode, the series finale of Walking Dead, is going to pan out
to Sean Bean.
In America, it's going to be in the Seven Kingdoms.
Again, if we see Sean Bean at any point, this fan theory is confirmed.
Yeah, it is. He's definitely a descendant.
Oh my gosh, what if it's related to Silent Hill, too?
Oh yeah, Sean Bean's the dad in that, I forgot.
Oh gosh, this is hurting my head. Sliders, maybe? Or Quantum Leap. I feel like Quantum Leap is more appropriate to connect into this weird universe.
Was Sean Bean in that, or are you just now saying science fiction TV titles?
I'm just saying the best science fiction TV titles. Thank you very much, sir. How dare you?
Sorry.
Oh boy. That was a reference to Scott Bakula.
Oh, okay. Alright, so that's all I've got.
Do you know what time it is?
It's either time for the Missing Stephen Death Game or Horror Pack. I don't know.
It's not called the Missing Stephen Death Game. It's like we don't know what happened. We don't know how he died. That's what the Missing Stephen Death Game sounds like.
Pretty sure Stephen's not dead.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you call it Missing Stephen Death Game? It's like playing Guess Who, and every little person you pop up is actually a cause of death for Stephen.
That's a good point. That's a little dark, but he is missing.
Wasn't it Suddenly Seeking Stephen or something?
That works.
That's the title that's stuck in my head.
All right, the Suddenly Seeking Stephen Death Game.
Yeah, where you have two different, kind of semi-different versions of Stephen dressed like Madonna beside each other.
Perfect. I think you'd really like that.
So you won last time.
Yeah.
Somehow.
All right, so I get to start.
Yes. Somehow.
Nurses may be worth less than the elderly, but sometimes you've got to mow them down on principle.
Clue.
Sylvester Stallone is in this.
Demolition Man?
No.
Rocky.
No.
Terminate. No, wait, that's, no, that's not him. Okay, I give up.
Death Race 2000.
Sylvester Stallone was in Death Race 2000?
Yes, he was. He played Machine Gun so-and-so forget his full name. It's like Machine Gun Charlie or something. I don't know. Or Machine Gun Eddie. Something from New Jersey sounding.
Okay, well, 1 point, Corey. Cowboys, Kurt Russell, and a stack of cash. Never a good combination.
This is car horror, right?
Car adjacent horror.
Shoot, what's that called? It's a heist movie, right?
Nope.
No?
Mm-mm.
It's not that movie where they dress up as Elvis?
No, not at all. There are cowboys, just a reminder.
What's my clue?
Desert setting.
Bone Tomahawk?
Not at all, but that is a fantastic film. Really, one of the greatest films that has come out within the last 5 years, hands down.
What else was a stack of cash? I'm going to feel like an idiot when I don't get this, because I love Kurt Russell.
Well, don't feel like an idiot, because I was actually trying to trick you into picking Death Proof, which was another great car-adjacent horror film with Kurt Russell.
Yeah, but there's no money in Death Proof.
No, not at all. Exactly. It's an early 90s film, which is actually all right. It's called Breakdown. It's almost like...
Oh, shoot. Yeah. That's the Kiefer Sutherland's in that too, right?
No, not at all.
Oh, I'm thinking about Jeff Bridges and Kiefer Sutherland, a totally different movie. Anyway, go ahead.
Breakdown is actually available on Amazon Instant Prime. It's about a man who is traveling with his wife through the desert, and they get stranded, and she hitches a ride to go back to a diner to make a call to get their car picked up, and she gets kidnapped and held for ransom. It's not a bad movie, actually. It's pretty good. Underrated.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. I actually watched it after Joyride, because Amazon was like, well, if you like this, so 1 for 1.
Yep. When you navigate for someone, make sure the car next to you doesn't have giant spikes instead of hubcaps.
Clue?
It is a Jason Statham vehicle.
Oh, gosh. Oh, the Death Ray 2000 remake?
What's the actual title?
Death Race 3000?
So close.
What's it called?
It's just called Death Race. I'll give it to you.
Okay, cool. Alright. I was like, I know this! Car surfing for this coked up couple takes a nasty turn right into the grinder.
Nothing but trouble.
No, not the bone grinder, just the grinder.
Okay, what clue?
Ken Kersinger.
That doesn't help.
I was actually trying to be pretty good with this clue because I was like, okay, this is the most notable name I can find in this film.
I don't know, Christine?
No. Is there any car surfing in Christine, Corey?
No. Yeah, I don't know. I give up.
Joyride 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're not the only one who can play tricks with sequels.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to feed a dude to your car.
Clue?
Stars Alan Ritchson, who voiced Raphael in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies.
Like, that helps me at all!
Your clues never help me, dude.
Oh. I don't know, Monster Car?
No. Blood Drive, which I strongly recommend everyone watches. Every episode is like a slightly different Grindhouse movie, and it was great. It's been canceled, so we're only going to get this one season, but it was so good. I'm so sad it's gone.
So are we tied?
No, you have 3.
Okay, cool. Imaginary pleasuring puts this movie away ahead of others with its gross out moments.
Pleasuring puts this movie ahead with its gross out moments.
Imaginary pleasuring.
Clue.
It's French.
Oh, Jesus Christ. The French Connection? City of Lost Children?
No, I'm just throwing out French movies.
Delicatessen? Yes, I am. Well, specifically Jean-Pierre Jeunet
French
films.
adjacent films.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't fucking know.
High Tension.
Oh, man, I've seen that too. It's been a long time.
It's the blowjob bit I was referring to, and the clue, the giveaway was that puts this movie away ahead of others.
Mm-hmm. I probably haven't seen that since it first came out.
Well, in your defense, that scene was one of the cut scenes, I believe, in the American release.
Oh, okay. So you kind of cheated.
Oh, no, it was the unedited DVD I watched.
Yeah, if I did this, you would have called it cheating.
Well, you know what?
But I also would have kept the point, so it's okay. Cars can be just as dangerous on the inside as on the outside, especially if you get nothing more than a half-assed stool to sit on.
Death Proof?
Yep. I didn't try very hard in a lot of these.
I was going to say that. You weren't trying very... I felt like any of us using Death Proof would have been, well, you're not really trying very hard.
No.
Not just a movie, but a great ad for biker lanes, too. Or, just giving up biking altogether.
Monkey Shines? No, he was jogging in that.
What the heck? No.
Clue?
One of your favorite actors, James Brolin.
Shit. Yeah, I don't know.
The Car from 1977.
Oh, okay, I haven't seen that either. Alright, you killed me, but my last one is... It takes real talent. Oh, wait, you probably have one more too, huh?
I do.
Yeah, okay. So my last one is, it takes real talent to snipe a cop in a car driving away.
Clue?
It is based on a true story.
I have no idea.
Wolf Creek 2.
You and your Wolf Creek.
I love Wolf Creek.
Rule of thumb when you're playing the Good Samaritan act, keep your eyes and ears open, or something jaw-dropping is gonna happen.
Joyride.
Nope.
Oh no, that guy was a dick. Never mind. Sorry, because that dude got his jaw torn off.
Yeah.
Clue.
Straight to video with nobody famous whatsoever, except Nikki Acox, I guess. She was in Dead Birds.
Alright, I give up.
Joyride 2.
Oh, I was so close.
I was like, I've got to do this sequel trick on Corey, like he did with all the Howling movies twice.
Yeah. Dude, Rusty Nail's got a thing for Jaws. At least they kept that consistent.
Yeah, that's true. They kept a few things consistent, but I'll mention my issues with the sequels later. Have you gotten your horror pack this week yet? Or this month?
Yes, I have. I just don't remember where I put it. Because there was... Listeners, there was a brief whiskey incident. I had just poured my... I don't want to call it a pre-show shot because it's more like a pre-show half bottle.
A pre-show
but it was
mug.
actually the shot I was going to take before we start, which is like after the half bottle.
Well,
so,
it's better
anyway.
to take a shot of whiskey that you spilled than your mom's thyroid medication.
Oh God, yeah. That is, if it was horror related, I would tell you guys that story, but it's not. Long story short, I took a shitload of thyroid medicine and my thyroid's fine. So it was a complicated night last night. All right, let me find the horror pack. Hold on. So I'm going to do this shot and then we're going to talk about horror pack. Here we go.
You're taking a shot of whiskey right now.
Mm-hmm. Just did. All right, so Maddie, this is the first month I think that I'm a little iffy on.
Really? I feel like your last horror pack you were moderately disappointed with.
No, there was something in there that wanted me to keep going.
Okay. Well,
isn't that the one where I got pieces?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. All right, these are covered in whiskey. I'm just now noticing them, so I'm kind of wiping them off as we go.
Professionalism, as always, on Hallow-Holics Anonymous. We just need to stop calling it Hallow-Holics.
It's just Alcoholics Anonymous now. See, I don't even know. Usually I try to go like good to bad or bad to good, but I have no idea where to start. So I'm going to start with the one I think I saw, and I think it's terrible, but I don't remember.
Okay. Sounds good.
So the first one is Dead in Tombstone, starring Danny Trejo, Anthony Michael Hall, and Mickey Rourke. So all three people I like to see in movies, and I think I saw this, but I have no memory whatsoever of it.
Mickey Rourke, man.
Yeah. So this movie is an action-packed battle for vengeance. As a ruthless gang overruns a small mining town, they murder their own leader, Guerrero. That's how it is. Guerrero Hernandez.
Wait, hold on. I'm from San Antonio. Let me pronounce it for you. Guerrero.
All right. Yeah, I'm not going to pronounce it like that. Guerrero Hernandez.
Guerrero Hernandez.
So, point is, they kill their leader in a cold-blooded power grab. Sentenced to an eternity in hell, he makes a deal with the devil, played by Mickey Rourke,
What?
offering a dark position.
As if they weren't like, well, Mickey Rourke was an angel heart. He should be the devil.
Probably. Anyway, yeah, he's supposed to deliver the souls of his former gang to escape damnation. With time running out, he sets out on a brutal rampage to avenge his own death. Maybe I haven't seen it. That doesn't sound super familiar.
This sounds like a movie that, like, the synopsis is exciting, but you'd be really, really upset or disappointed when you watched it.
Yeah, probably.
But I would totally watch it.
All right, so next, dude, your boy's in this one, William Sadler, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to save this movie. Yeah.
William Sadler?
Yeah, it's called Deadly Crush.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah, William Sadler's the only person I recognize. So it's about a painter named Bryn Holt. She rents a secluded cabin to jumpstart her creativity, which I can relate to. I often take my music gear out into the middle of the woods, only I can't afford a cabin, so I do it in a two-man tent. It's a bit packed. Sheriff Dusty, played by William Sadler, pays her a visit, insisting she leave since the cabin has been condemned for 40 years. Despite his warning, Bryn opts to stay and paint.
Wait, how long should something be condemned before it's torn down? 40 years is a little excessive.
Dude, we've got an abandoned chunk of mental institution that's been condemned easily since the 70s and still, like, people just don't tear down buildings. That's expensive.
Go on.
Especially when they can barely afford to keep the building.
But it's a cabin, right?
Actually is open.
It's a cabin.
Yeah, but still, why tear down a cabin when the woods is going to reclaim it eventually anyways?
Yeah, well, how often do people explicitly go through the paperwork to condemn a cabin in the middle of the woods?
Well, that's a good point. I don't know. An invisible spirit begins to protect her from a dangerous situation. The ghost kills and possesses a body, convincing Bryn to escape with him and live a life with him on the run. Now wanted for murder, quickly, Bryn and the spirit pursue their liaison with red-hot abandon until the morning they discover that his body is still decomposing. The ghost needs a fresh host, so she's been boning a dead dude this whole time. Okay. Will Bryn continue to seek victims to sustain the love of her life, or will she finally put a stop to an affair that until now she has only dreamt about? Oh, it sounds like softcore.
Sounds like the best movie ever!
That might be the first one I watch in this pile of nonsense. We'll see. I meant to watch one this week. It's just things got kind of hectic. Next we have, from the award-winning special effects creator of The Descent, a movie called Howl.
Can you spell that?
Howl. Not like C. Thomas, like the sound wolves make.
Okay, go on.
Apparently this is a werewolf movie because there's a big-ass wolf man on the cover.
How can you really tell, though? I mean, it might be misleading. I mean, a name like Howl?
It could be a cougar man. I don't know. On a stormy night, passengers on the last train out of London begin panic after coming to a sudden halt. They soon realize there is something dangerous lurking in the forest, and it's stalking the besieged train and picking them off one by one. This is actually the movie I have the most hope for in this shipment. I bet it's going to be terrible, but I still want to see it.
Well, I gotta be honest, you described your horror pack as if it was iffy this month, but so far it sounds like a hit. Every film.
Yeah, normally, like, the way I judge this is I want to see at least one movie I've heard of that I want to see. And the closest thing I got is Dead in Tombstone, and I have no interest in that.
Well, I feel like Bill Sadler is an immediate, like, pass. You know, like an acceptance, a great, a miraculous miracle.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, YouTube the trailer and you might think otherwise. I did that.
Okay.
All right.
Was William Sadler in the trailer?
Yes.
Oh.
All right. The last movie here is called Model Hunger.
Is it like Green Room on low budget or what?
No, I actually at first thought this was like an old Giallo film or like an old Italian movie because the cover really looks very old school, but apparently it was released in 2016.
Well, that's never a guarantee that it was made in 2016.
I'm pretty sure this was made in like 2015 at least.
Okay.
So, this is the directorial debut of horror icon Debbie Rochon, It's an unsettling, dark-humored critique of the American business, or of the entertainment business, as if John Waters directed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I don't think it would have made a difference.
Yeah, I don't either.
Like, John Waters and Tobe Hooper had a lot in common.
True. So, former model and actress Ginny had been cast aside by the modeling industry when she was a young woman due to her body type, and she didn't take the rejection well. When new neighbors Debbie and Sal move in, they begin to notice strange things happening at Ginny's as the list of local missing women begins to grow, and Ginny shares her culinary delights with the neighbors. All right, so disgruntled model feeds her neighbors to her friends.
Again, kind of a knockoff of Green Room. Not Green Room. Green Room?
Yeah,
is that the one with the models?
No, that's the one with the Nazis.
Oh, what's the one with the models where they eat the model to get their wishes?
Oh, that's one of the Fannings is in that. I can't remember because I've never had an interest in seeing Neon Demon.
Oh, yeah. That kind of sounds like it's like, well, people like Neon Demon, so if we describe this, kind of like it.
Could be.
Yeah, that's the only one that's kind of so far underwhelmed me, but I'd watch the others.
Yeah. I mean, I always say I'm going to give them all a try, and then they sit still in their wrapping until... I have so many horror packs I haven't even watched yet. That's not to say it's not worth it. That's more of a comment on the lack of time I have than it is the quality of horror pack. So I'm keeping it. You know, I'll give them a mistake or two, and we'll see what I get next month.
Well, I have a question for you, Mr. Corey. Because I don't want to reveal your last name, even though I probably have in archive episodes and fans will point it out.
I bet in the first episode or two that you did. I haven't gone back and looked, but if I do notice that, I will end up making you out.
Do you see my share screen right now?
Yeah, hold on. I had to double click it, so it's taken a second to load up.
All right. Did you know that William Sadler sings?
I did not. It's trying to load, but it's not loading.
Well, let's see if it works, because together today we will find out how much of a beautiful singer he truly is. This is him singing. He's a singer.
The key of C is just fine with me. I'm as happy as a man can be, as long as we keep it in the key of C. I learned to play on my daddy's
actually exactly knee. What I would think he'd sing.
Stubborn as a donkey, he only showed me one key, and the key was C. It's gonna have to do for me. Now if we play it in A or B, well, you won't see my virtuosity. I got nothing against D or E or F or G, but goodness me, C's a key that's got no sharps or flats. And fellas, that's the reason I keep saying, as long as we keep playing in the key of C, it's absolutely fine with me.
Of course he's doing his own trombone.
When I try.
That was pretty great.
When I try to play a jazzy riff, my hands get stiff, augmented or diminished. Oh, honey lamb, I'm finished. The key of C is absolutely fine with me. Oh, hey, I can play a song so sweet without those sharps and flats. That mean old dogs behave like pussy cats. Republicans begin to dance like Democrats when I play it in the key of C. Ooh-wee, play it in the key of C. Won't you please play it in the key of C? Holy smoly.
So if nothing showed you how multifaceted the talents of William Sadler is, I don't know what else does.
No, he is pretty great. That was awesome.
Yeah. He shows you how wonderful the key of C can be.
Yeah, he sold me on it. I really like the key of C now.
I really need to stop drinking. All right. So do we have anything else to say about whatever we were talking about? The horror act?
No, we don't. But I would like to interject for one brief second for our 50-plus listeners real quick and ask anyone, including you, if you have been watching Castle Rock.
My mom keeps telling me to watch it. My mom, the ultimate fount of wisdom, as this podcast has demonstrated.
Yeah, your mom is right. It's actually, I binged the first 3 episodes because Hulu put up the first 3 and now they're doing it week by week, which annoys me because I'd have been done with it otherwise and I would have had to push this recording back. That's how much I'm enjoying it. I strongly recommend, Stephen King fans or not, Stephen King fans will get some more Easter eggs out of it. You find out, what happened to certain characters. They mention one of the characters from, Stand By Me. There's a whole lot of things. The entire half the show takes place at Shawshank Prison. It's just, so far it's a really interesting kind of mystery show with a really sort of dark, foreboding, tense feeling a la Channel Zero from Sci-Fi right now.
Which has one of the greatest costume characters of all time.
The tooth guy?
Yes.
Yeah, that was freaky. But yeah, I highly, highly recommend that you guys check out, Castle Rock on Hulu.
By the time we record the next episode, I may have watched half of one.
Cool. But yeah, it's worth it. Everybody check it out. All right, that's it for me. How about we talk about these movies, lady?
I suppose it should be about time. So, if it hasn't been obvious by the blatant clues we've dropped throughout this episode, my film is Joyride from 2001. Lewis, played by Paul Walker, is a good kid. He goes to college. He has a typical 90s girlfriend named Venna, played by typical 90s actress Lily Sobieski, and even a typical terrible washout brother, Fuller, played by Steve Zahn, one of the greatest actors, but not quite as great as Bill Sadler.
Stephen Zahn is great, you're right.
And he has to pick up Steve Zahn, Fuller, from jail on the way to visit Venna for the summer. Unfortunately, Fuller gets the bright idea to catfish a trucker on the CB, which is a radio if some of you millennials don't remember. And then we're introduced to a man who calls himself Rusty Nail. When the jig is up and he finds out his candy cane isn't real, Rusty Nail's blue balls go haywire, and he terrorizes the trio with a couple of his
His blue balls go haywire, you say?
Yes.
That was genius. That was pure poetry.
And he terrorizes the trio with a couple of his own sick games. I'm sorry, how would you hear someone's pen name or a username or anything in any kind of form as Rusty Nail? Why would you assume they were a normal geek? You don't think that's a slightly disturbing username?
Well, number one, this is a CB, so usernames don't really factor in here. There's a big difference between like usernames on Reddit and usernames or handles, as they called them, on CB.
That's true, but my dad and my grandfather and my aunt, they were all crazy about CB throughout my childhood, and when I was a teenager, I'm sure they both kind of somewhat listen to it right now. None of them uses a weird name like Rusty Nail. They call themselves Cracker or Cheese or something, but not Rusty Nail.
I'm actually seeing if I can find a list of CB handle names.
Well, it's kind of difficult because usually it's a CB number, and then on the actual channel you'll call yourself something. So it's not really something that's generally documented. At any rate, if anyone called themselves Rusty Nail in any context, would you think they were someone you would want to screw around with?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably just assume it was, the dude's name. Like, I mean, number one, I wouldn't do this. Especially how far they take it.
Yeah. Yes.
But
it's catfishing.
I don't think the name's that weird.
Okay, well, agree to disagree.
I mean, if he was like Breaker 19, this is Kid Toucher looking for candy cane, then I would see a problem in it.
Breaker, this is creepy old trucker with no personal life.
Yeah, but I mean, this cat could just be like a carpenter in his off days. You know, I've used rusty nails. I'm a carpenter.
Well,
I haven't used the name. I've used the actual items. But I digress. Please continue with the film.
The actor who played Rusty Nail, Ted Levine, uncredited.
Well, Ted Levine played the voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dude who played the actual Walking Bit's name was...
Okay.
Wait, I have it written down somewhere.
So, for fans of Joyride, so Rusty Nail is actually a dual role. The voice is Theodore Ted Levine, normally known as Ted Levine, who is known for Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs and Captain Leland Stottlemyre in Monk. The body role is played by Matthew Kimbrough as Rusty Nail, and in the Spanish cast, he's credited as Clavo, which means nail.
I wonder if this is one of those deals like Darth Maul in the Star Wars prequel. If they filmed him and his voice at first, but it just didn't work out, so they brought Ted Levine in, or if they had planned it all along, I wonder.
Well, what's interesting is that they had planned multiple different endings to the film.
Oh, yeah, I just heard about all those.
Yeah, and a majority of them Rusty nailed and died in some variation.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what J.J. Abrams had originally planned. And he produced and co-wrote this, by the way. So how is it you never realize a certain time has a feel to it until it's come and gone? Hair gel, alternative rock, neatly trimmed pretty boys, even the camera work of late 90s, early 2000s. It feels like a film like Final Destination, you know, that sepia overtone influenced by Amelie. It's just so 90s.
Yeah, and that opening with like the quick flashes to all the like violent bits and like car parts and stuff. Like that was such a 90s opening to a movie.
Well, I mean, to be honest, even having Steve Zahl and Lily Sobieski in a movie is very 90s.
Yeah, that's very true. She hasn't done a lot, but I've enjoyed her. I've enjoyed her. Like I like her in this. I can see that she might come up as bland a little bit in this film, but it kind of worked for me.
You know, I always saw her on screen, and I felt that she seemed not bland, but intellectual.
Yeah. I can see that.
I wish I had seen her career develop more. But it doesn't seem like she's been in a lot of very influential or mainstream films since the late 90s and early 2000s.
No, she didn't do a whole lot. She's in The Glass House. She's in an episode of Frasier. Frasier was still 2002.
Yeah.
Apparently there was a miniseries version of Dangerous Liaisons that she was in. She rocked a couple
I can see her wearing a silver wig.
She was in the remake of The Wicker Man, which I think is what I kind of remember her from.
Let's test a theory. Now that we're done talking about Lily Sobieski. Corey, do a sexy girl voice, and we'll see if you sound convincing with radio static.
Is this enough?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you want me to do a convincing girl voice?
Yes.
Well, hello, Rusty Nails. My name's Candy Cane. Anything? How was that?
Tell me about yourself, Candy Cane.
Well, I'm about 5'10". I've got boobs like girls have, and I got fancy legs and brown hair, and I don't know how to describe women.
Okay, you go back to your normal voice, Candy Cane.
Okay.
All right, back to normal.
Okay. So I feel I'd have to be, as a male, if you're pretending to be a woman and I'm pretending to be a man in Rusty Nail's position, I'd have to be pretty darn desperate to believe you were a woman.
Yeah, for sure. And I imagine, like, maybe this guy was, or maybe he was just looking for a target and his bloodlust overshadowed his ability to distinguish sexes. I don't know.
But I do truly wonder if the real villain here is the idiot, sociopathic brother getting way too excited about CB catfishing. Every time the main character, Lewis, tries to tell him, well, I don't want to do this, he punches him in the shoulder and then punches him in the stomach. And he's like, dude, no, keep doing it. Keep pretending to be a woman. Seduce this trucker. To the point of telling him, hey, meet me in this hotel room with champagne right in front of our car.
Well, I'm sure that this wouldn't have happened had they not carried on. This may not even have happened to them if they wouldn't have invited him to the hotel. It may have just ended in the first impersonation. Yeah. I think this guy was definitely a serial killer, and he's probably murdered other people, and this is just what got him on the trail of these two. But I don't think it would have been those two had they not done something that stupid.
Yeah. Okay. Now I get into a sort of formula that part 2 and part 3 both follow. Everybody ignores what these guys say, or they absolutely hate them to an unrealistic level. Do you remember the part where the cops were talking to them?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like basically, you fucked with people and now all these people are dead. I didn't need all this extra work. Well, that's pretty much the theme of all 3 of the films. I have never met a police officer who acts like that.
Who just are bothered by the fact that they have to do their job.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of get it, if this whole thing came from a prank like that, they're responsible for all the deaths in the movie essentially now, because they're the ones that basically pulled this serial killer into everything they did. So dude got his jaw ripped off. Another dude died in his office. That ice truck guy died. And this may not have happened had they not played their little prank. So I think they're just as responsible for all these murders as he is.
Well,
and the law would probably find it that way too. So I get that they're kind of irritated.
But are they the only guys who've ever played pranks on a CB radio?
No, definitely not. But they may be, in this case, the only ones who brought a serial killer into these people's lives.
So your film, Mr. Caviezel, the Highwaymen, which you'll talk about later, which has the actor Mr. Caviezel, he's actually in a movie called Frequency, which points out something very important. If you are operating a CB radio, you have to be licensed.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, because that would be a federal crime.
So why aren't they held in jail longer?
I don't know. But I wonder if... Because my dad had a CB radio when we were kids. I wonder if this was a law that was passed later on or when it was passed. I don't know.
Well, in the film, it's in the context of the 60s of Frequency, so...
I haven't seen the Frequency in a long time.
What I thought about Joyride as I was watching it in today's context is I was thinking, so I know what you did last summer is a little bit better than this movie. And Scream is a little bit better than that film, right?
I don't know. I can't really compare them aside from maybe the time period that they happened in.
Well, what's really funny is that Joyride 2 is very Saw-like.
Yeah, I did hear that there was more gore in the sequel.
Yeah, it's actually pretty funny to watch all 3 in a row, because Joyride 1, which is, again, produced and co-directed by J.J. Abrams, is good. The very basic level. But Part 2, which had a different actor for Rusty Nail altogether, had different actors in the whole film, had more gore and more deaths. It had a group of 4 actors actually being the ones chased by Rusty Nail.
Mm.
2 of them had to do, 3 of them until one of them was killed, had to do sort of challenges by Rusty Nail to keep him entertained, to keep another one who was kidnapped from dying. And then Part 3 was just straight up Rusty Nail killing people.
Uh-huh. That is one of my favorite parts of Joyride, when they made him go into the diner naked. I thought everybody's reaction to that was awesome.
It felt like every sequel was not only trying to increase the body count, but trying to remain relevant to the time it came out in. And Part 2 was definitely relevant to the Saw popularity.
Yeah.
And I felt like every character was progressively less likable with each sequel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the characters in the first one had great chemistry. I think Zahn and Walker were great together.
Yeah. And, though there's not much to say about Joyride, I'm going to come flat out and say it. It's a decent film. It's a movie you'll remember if you see it, but it's easy to pass over. And the whole trilogy is one of the best examples of franchise degradation I've ever seen.
Yeah, and for you Supernatural fans out there, if you just want to see Jim Beaver berate a couple of 20-somethings one more time like he does in Supernatural, he's the cop that scolds them, and it's pretty great.
Again, if you've seen Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer, you might as well watch Joyride.
Yeah, I really liked it. I liked it better than I Know What You Did Last Summer, definitely.
And that was Joyride.
My movie was Highwaymen, which was, I guess, a little less known than I thought. I mean, I never hear anything about it. I don't see a whole lot about it, but I really, really love it. It was directed by Robert Harmon, who's the same dude who directed the original Hitcher.
Which is an incredible film.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Car adjacent or road horror is concerned, it is one of the greatest.
When I was a kid, I was when I was, I guess, in my early 20s, I was super excited to hear that this was coming out. Because I'm like, the director of The Hitcher, another road movie, this is going to be great. Until I started hearing about these weird things. Like, this actually got released on a cable station, like TNT or something like that. Before it came out, it actually had a television release before a Blu-ray release, which I thought was very, very strange because I had followed production for this for a while, and I didn't watch it on TV. I waited for the DVD release, but as soon as I could get it, I got it. I wasn't disappointed. I thought it was very, very good. I was looking for a modern day Mad Max movie, but it ended up being more of a movie about obsession and revenge. It was more that than explosions and car chases. That being said, you get a decent amount of both, but it was very different than I thought it would be, and I really enjoyed it regardless.
It was a surprisingly engaging film.
Yeah, it was. So our movie stars Jim Caviezel as Rennie Cray, a doctor turned man on the road to revenge on the trail of a rogue insurance salesman turned serial killer after watching his wife get run down on the side of the highway by said salesman. 5 years later, it flashes to him driving down a lone stretch of road. It turns out he did 3 years in prison for running his nemesis, the man who killed his wife, Fargo, down with his car. Immediately after he hits his wife, Caviezel jumps into his Mercedes and just T-bones this dude, which essentially meant that Rennie created his arch nemesis as we see him 5 years down the road.
An almost powerless villain.
Sort of.
Yeah.
The whole deal with him now is he's basically fused to his car. He can get out, but he needs a wheelchair, and he can only function as a killer when he's in his car. And everything that's done to his car is reflected on his body. There's damage on the left side where he doesn't have his left arm anymore. He's only got one headlight because he's only got one eye, things like that. And I thought it was really cool that his Cadillac Eldorado reflected the pain and torture that he was going through as a disabled person. And this is also the only way that he could kill people now. So Jim Caviezel's character, Rennie, talks about if you get the man out of the car, you take the brain from the machine, they're both harmless, which is true. So the inciting incident, which is a beautifully insane inciting incident. After passing a car containing two young ladies, Fargo causes a massive wreck in a tunnel that manages to paint a pretty great tableau. Our female lead, Molly Poole, played by the painfully underrated Rhoda Mitra. She's not the best actor, but she's just got a presence that's undeniable to me. She screams to... Very strong. She screams to her driver, who swerves to miss this wheelchair in the middle of the road, then nearly hits a horse that's wandering around in this tunnel. And they swerve to the other side of the tunnel and come to a stop. And then we see the owner of the horse, whose truck is wrecked, wandering aimlessly due to a head injury, just long enough to see him get hit by a truck that then flips and wrecks as well. It's just this complete Rube Goldberg machine of chaos that's perfectly bonkers, and I love it. So long story short, I want you guys to see this, so I'm not going to ruin too much of it. Everybody dies except Molly. Fargo then takes her picture, but the tunnel's no longer empty as emergency services are on their way, so he drives off. Without ruining anything else, Molly is basically kidnapped by Rennie because he's obsessed with nothing more than catching and killing Fargo. You had brought up earlier that this is basically Moby Dick, and in a lot of ways the obsession is very similar.
Mm-hmm.
So these two now are on the hunt for Fargo in a souped-up 68 Barracuda, and she's the bait. The rest of the movie is all about asphalt, fast cars, and revenge. It's absolutely great. It's right up there with all the Mad Max movies as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
There's also a dude that claims to have the job of traffic investigator, and I'm wondering if that's a real thing, and if it is, does he actually, like, go out in the field and interrogate suspects and stuff? Like, I feel like his position would be more of a CSI, but I'm okay with it because he kind of goes rogue, so I'm going to allow it. Something that bugs me about this movie, there's a few things that bug me about this movie, but Rennie is also able to wander in and out of anywhere he wants to at will. He does this at the crime scene in the tunnel and in Molly's hospital room. I imagine this is some kind of superpower that comes from the poor guy being completely plain and generally unnoticeable, unless he's playing a dude from Nazareth getting tortured for 2.5 hours. Jim Caviezel is kind of a forgettable dude, but that's not to say that I don't like him. He plays that role well. He did it in Person of Interest, which is a great sci-fi series, if you're into that kind of thing. But he played someone who needed to get lost into the crowd a lot, and he played it well because that's kind of the type of dude he was. It's a little weird in this, though.
He's sort of one of those late 90s actors who all kind of melded together for me, like the actor from Son of Jesus and 28 Days Later.
Oh, Cillian Murphy? Yeah, Cillian Murphy's kind of one of those forgettable dudes for me, too. Except for when he played the Scarecrow. I really dug him in the Scarecrow. Or as the Scarecrow. So this movie was definitely a throwback to old Grindhouse movies before that was really a thing. If it would have been released in the mid-'80s, it probably would have done great. And I mean, if it was released this year with some kind of fake 16mm grain lines, it would have done okay. Unfortunately, in 2004, this was kind of the gray area for retro film, so neither of these things were happening, and it just kind of got lost. Fargo's stalking in this movie is pretty well done as well. I really like the fact that he knew that she was going to get a ride home, but she wasn't going to take the tunnel. So he knew the route she would take based on that, and he waited in an alternative spot to ambush her. Rennie does something similar because his obsession has taken him so far into Fargo's mind that he can find all the spots he'll stop for repairs and rest. We see this in the beginning. He, as he's driving down the road, he stumbles upon a spot and finds one of Rennie's fake hands, and he finds another spot later on just because these two are so in each other's heads. I just thought that was really cool the way they did that. It gets a little heavy-handed when it reminds us that this is a movie about dudes and cars, though. At one point, Rennie's trying to fix his car at night, but instead of pulling out a normal floodlight or a couple hanging lanterns, he hooks up 2 headlight bulbs to a car battery, which I thought was kind of unnecessary. But generally, I really, really enjoyed this movie, and if it was out on Blu-ray, I'd buy it right now. I definitely recommend y'all check it out. It's a great film.
I felt like some of the dialogue was too fast. There's a point when you wonder if the screenwriter is too smart for the audience or too smart for conversation. And the responses that people have to each other don't make sense because it's like almost like one person knew what the other person was saying before they went back to saying what they were saying.
Yeah, and I think they did that. I think that's definitely detrimental to the film. I think if they would have given it a little more room to develop everyone's characters, it would have worked out a little bit better. But they really did sort of like force everybody's sob story pretty quickly onto everyone else, and it didn't really impact as much as it should have.
Well, because it wasn't the concern of the story. The story's concern was the car stunts and the action. Yeah,
for sure. But I think it would have worked better had they... Because even in Mad Max, it's all about the car stunts and explosions, but you actually cared about Max and his family because they spent time with them. You know, we spent time getting to know them and like seeing the like cute, quirky things they did together as a family. Yeah, there was none of that there, so the stakes weren't quite as high as they could have been, but I'll let that slide based on everything else.
I felt like the camera tricks and transitions in this film were really good.
How so?
They were just clever. They were artistic. They were beautiful. There were some camera choices, the way they displayed something, the landscapes. It was just really technically precise.
Yeah, it did look really good. And they did do some really interesting stuff that I had never seen before. Like that whole scene when Fargo runs Molly and that dude whose name doesn't matter that I forget, when he makes them flip their car and then he attaches the chain to it and like drives away pulling that car with Molly still inside. I thought that was pretty cool. Like that was something I hadn't seen before, and I really enjoyed that whole like action scene with Remy pulling up and like pulling her out of the wreck. That was neat.
Well, I love that he teamed up with that cop. It was like the vigilante and the cop teaming up together.
Yeah, that was cool too, and I liked how little convincing that cop really needed to go rogue. Like,
exactly.
And I mean, what do you want? The poor dude just like measures skid marks for a living, you know? It's not a real, like, this was his moment to shine, and he totally took it and ran with it.
At the beginning, he's like, well, I just push papers. I've never pulled a gun or anything. I just sign stuff. And then he's totally cool with going complete all out badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny. It's interesting because that's not the normal twist you see in these sorts of films.
No. Normally that cop would be the straight man the whole way through, and he just totally released himself to the chaos. I loved it.
Mm-hmm. There was no final moment where Jim Caviezel, James, was arrested and it was like, well, vigilante justice may have solved the problem easily, but there was nothing right about what you did.
Yeah.
But no,
I mean, I guess it could be argued after the cameras stopped rolling and those people went on with their lives that he probably did get arrested for a lot of that stuff. But, the way it ends happy, so I'm willing to let it go there.
Yeah. Right after Rhoda Mitra was stereotypically wrapped with a blanket and given a cup of hot cocoa.
Yeah.
And then fell in love with Jim Caviezel basically because of, Stockholm Syndrome.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought too.
It's like first he kidnapped her and then the bad guy kidnapped her. It was really a good movie though, despite those like very simple. It was just fun. It was
a really fun movie that I just don't think was given a chance. I think it was sort of made and then swept under a rug pretty quickly, and I thought that was unfortunate. I didn't really get that at the time because I didn't understand how movies could do that sometimes. I thought back then if a movie got made, it got made. I didn't realize weird stuff like the original Fantastic Four could happen. I didn't know that they could make a movie and then just be like, okay, here, USA, show this movie at 2 a.m. and let's be done with it. This was distributed by New Line Cinema, and it seems like a lot of their stuff gets swept under the rug. Yeah, but the fact that this premiered on a basic cable station before it had a DVD release was something unheard of to me at the time. It seems very strange to me, like, that it was released that way, because it seems like it's better than that. It should have been originally released. I agree. It's one of those movies that, like, I've never forgot existed, even though it seems like most everybody involved with it wants me to forget. And I think that's a shame. I think it's really good. Yeah. Before we finish this episode, I think it's time to talk about a few things. If you want to check out the blog, you can find us at Hallow-Holics.blogspot.com or Hallow-Holic.wordpress.com. You can also find us on Twitter at Nowhere23 or search for Hallow-Holics. We are also on Podpedia. What's the portal? And I forget. I don't know. They make me say this. HHA. HHA. Yeah, portal HHA. So check us out there. Please tweet at me. If you have any movie recommendations, please let me know. You can contact us at Hallow-Holic@outlook.com. All right, it looks like we're at that abandoned place your friend on the CB wanted us to go to. Are you ready to go check him out, Corey? See if he has any fun ideas for this road trip? I really, really would rather not. All right.
It's okay. It's okay. Bring him to me. Bring him to me now. Just kick him out of the car.
No, please. Just drive. Just drive away, Maddie. Please, just drive away.
All right. I'll do that. Without you.
It's about time I got you, Corey. Come on down to my shack.
Maddie, no!